guys, thank you for watching. If you are just now joining us, I'm here with Mellie, our community manager, and I'm here with Amy Dallin. And we're going to talk a little bit about some tricks to instantly creating really fun NPCs. So these are my tricks that I actually like to use. So you know, there's always like a horrific moment, right? And we even sort of talked about it at the end there of that last little bit, where we love to wreck a DM's train, right? We love to like get completely derail everything, get them completely off track. And instead of going to like this giant like house of clues and plot that I'm clearly want my players to go to, they're like, we're gonna go question everyone that works at this bakery, you know, and you're just like, bleh. What? No, I don't. Son of a. Suddenly, everyone in that bakery needs a name, and they need a little bit of personality, right? I can't help you with names. Everyone in my game is usually named Tim or
Dave is my go-to.
Dave.
I had a whole cave of Daves, and that became like
cave.
A thing.
Oh my gosh. Shout out to the webcomic Narbonic and the many, many days.
So many Daves. But I can help you with just like a little bit of personality. With just I really love using this trick to just give me like one little quirk for an NPC, just to give them a little more color, just to give them a little more flavor. And I think depending on how important the NPC needs to be, you can use one of these examples, or you can do them all with someone and just try to make someone really, really specific. And I thought it would be fun to make the two of you do this on the fly for my and the audience's entertainment. So does that sound good?
Heck yeah.
Sure.
Okay. So I have 3 lists that I have up when I'm DMing. I have a list of animals, I have a list of actors, and I have a list of jobs. And I will put that list through a randomizer. And if someone's like, oh, who's in here? And I suddenly have to introduce someone, I'll throw my animal list onto, I think it's called like randomizer.org or something like that. I'll hit randomize, and whoever's up first, I got to choose a characteristic from that thing and apply it to that NPC. And boom, instant NPC. So here's what I want to jump into with you guys. We're gonna get into these lists, and I'm gonna ask you. I'm gonna name a thing, and you're gonna start just throwing out characteristics of what that thing is. Okay, just so that we can kind of put this idea on its feet, and so hopefully it's a valuable resource for folks. Okay, animals. Cats. Go.
What was
Wait,
the
what'd you
first
say?
one?
Tell me about cats.
Oh, aloof.
Perfect. Aloof is super, super good.
Picky.
A little picky, yeah, maybe a little lazy.
Lazy, yeah.
Mhm.
They I was just thinking about my cat and how it just crawls on my face and yells at me. So needy and
That's great, though.
loud.
That's great. And you've already brought up a really good point that I love with this list. And I like to do this with the jobs part. But, you know, so like I have, you know, on the list of jobs, I have hairdresser. And obviously there are a lot of instant stereotypes that you go, oh, a hairdresser, okay. But go beyond those stereotypes. Your hairdresser. Who is the last person that cut your hair? Who's the person who gave you the worst haircut? Like, what's like one thing about them? So exactly. So because you went to your cat, Mellie, now you have maybe someone who's really needy and a little touchy.
Exactly. Yeah. Like
You know,
no sense of personal space, no sense of your time either. Like my thing needs to happen first. Your stuff can wait.
Yeah.
We're on a schedule here.
Yeah. So we're going, your party's going to visit a blacksmith, and instead of just like a standard guy who's just like, yeah, I can make a hammer, suddenly you have like a weird touchy like blacksmith that's just like, who made these earrings, you know? And like, it's just a little off-putting, and maybe they just yawn a lot, and they're like, I just woke up from 3 naps, you know.
Yep.
All of a sudden,
What
you
is
have
the blacksmith equivalent of knocking things off of a shelf?
I'm just imagining like the light coming in and hitting this armor and casting these like lights. They're really distractible. Like
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
We love those shinies.
but here's the trick, right? Like maybe this person's a tabaxi, and just being like, what's a cat is an obvious move. Okay, characteristics of a rabbit. Give them to me.
Fast.
Super nervous, anxious all the time.
Super nervous, anxious all the time. Yep, perfect.
A small, like a nervous habit.
Yes.
Would be something evoked
like
for me by a rabbit, like the way fiddling with something on their outfits, or like always chewing something, as so many of us have in real life. But that thinking about rabbits makes me come to mind.
Right. Yeah.
Super perceptive. They'll pull out like little details. So like things that characters have on them that like people don't usually talk about. You can bring those things in.
Yeah. So I like rabbit because I actually in my home game, everyone visited the town blacksmith, who I had decided was randomly just like a hobgoblin, because I just liked the idea of this hobgoblin that lived in this mostly human town. But aside from that, like I kind of realized, I was like, I don't really know anything else about this guy, because all I know is he's the blacksmith guy, and I had no idea that they were going to go see the blacksmith guy that day. And so the randomizer gave me rabbit, and I was like, okay. But the first choice that kind of came to mind, and just go with your first choice, right? You don't have to sit and belabor this stuff. Your instincts are good. The first things you guys said were like nervous and quick, and already that's like a very interesting blacksmith. My first instinct that time was like, has a lot of kids. But then all of a sudden I had this hobgoblin blacksmith who had adopted like all these human kids whose parents maybe were adventurers or soldiers in the war or whatever, and he just like has these like 11
little
kids
rascals.
He's got these little rascals that live with him, and all of a sudden I just had this like really kind of cool developed NPC. You guys get it. You guys get what we're doing. But now let's go to the actor list, because I like this one a lot.
Oh boy, my pop culture knowledge is going to be put to the test here.
When you guys think, we'll go with an easy one, maybe, I don't know. But when you think of Danny DeVito, what do you think about when you think of Danny?
He's gonna yell. And he's gonna.
Perfect. Yep.
But he often plays characters who are sort of 3 steps ahead of everyone else, or who think they are. Like that's kind of a dichotomy that you would go to him for. He's played like good-natured characters and mean characters and bumbling characters, but a lot of times either the idea that he's like out clevering you, or that he thinks he is, like both of those versions of him I would go to.
And that's super fun, because okay, so you've got this like kind of I'd say maybe that's a little shifty, right? So like everyone's going to meet the sheriff or the captain of the guard or something like that, and you're like, okay, and you roll Danny DeVito, and it's like all of a sudden this person who is like, according to your story, like on their side and on the up and up and just giving quests and trying to be helpful, but he's also like a little like, he thinks he's playing 5-dimensional chess with everybody and stuff like that. And
it's really self-important sheriff.
Yeah, very self-important sheriff. Gets like a little loud and a little angry with the people around him, stuff like that. No, exactly. That is the game. Just pick that first, like, okay, Jason Momoa.
This you would think about the way other people respond to being in a room with Jason Momoa, right? So you would think about like, whether or not he is your given type. When he walks into a room, it might be like Gaston walking in Beauty and the Beast. Yep. You're going to get a whole range of responses from other people, but you're going to be able to predict some of those responses and sort of model them. Like, and there might be a directness to that character, a sort of like tell you exactly what's on their mind. Or they could be sort of jokey and laid back. Or, then you can turn around and have like these surprise, stories that I remember. I'm, not deeply aware of this very real human being as a person, but
I've got to feel you on that one. I'm like, oh, wow, I've seen pictures of him and I've yet to see the movies he's in.
But like stories,
but I agree with your perception of like, yes, if Jason Momoa walked into a room, we would all turn and look and see Jason Momoa.
And there are things like for the red carpet for Aquaman, he led a bunch of people in a haka. if I'm remembering right. And it was this really lovely personal moment that came out of who he is and like the whole story he has to tell. And that's one of those, like, every NPC you meet has a story to tell and a place they came from and a thing that they might do on a red carpet that's different from what anybody else might do. Not that there's a lot of red carpets, but you know, I'd love to see that.
No, but again, like, okay, your players went to this bakery. They're trying to meet this baker. Jason Momoa is the top of your randomizer list, and so now all of a sudden you have this baker who's like maybe just larger than life and very hot.
He's definitely kneading the dough in a really romantic way.
Yes.
Then like there's people outside the window who are just like watching him knead dough.
Yes, like people like line up. Yeah, maybe the food's not even good, but like they line up to see this like shirtless, shoeless, like shaka bra, like just like very just chill, like hot baker every day. Yeah. I see. I love doing this. So okay, and then the third list I would do I have is jobs, because I think we all have really personal connections to what our idea of those jobs are as well. You know, obviously, you know, again, like we said with hairstylists, like there's obviously, you know, you're the very like clear stereotypes of like what a male or female hairstylist would be. But I think you can go deeper there and be like, okay, well, who was like the last person to cut my hair? And like the last person that cut my hair couldn't have like given less of a crap that I was even existed, right? She was just like, I want to leave. I'm done for the day. Like, cool. Is this short enough? I'm not actually listening to what you said. Like, please, leave the chair, right? So now the baker is that person. Now the captain of the guard is just like, oh, God, I get to go home in like 2 minutes. Like, what do you want? Seriously, like, what do you want? So I want to go through the line with you guys too. Construction foreman.
I feel like not all of, I've known two. I know two construction fellas, and both of them are like very much actually creative and have these weird like artistic sides to them. One of them like has recordings of themselves that they listen to at work to like get better at singing. It's just this weird, so it's a very weird little thing that really has nothing to do with that construction foreman thing, but I'm now just imagining somebody who actually is working this job because it lets them make a lot of noise and kind of just do their own thing, because it's very like an isolated job that they get to work on. So they just do some goofy stuff and
it's like, I'm the janitor. I'm the janitor of this arcane library, but because it's after hours and I just get to work on my singing career.
Yeah, it's flash dance.
Just dance out their feelings in this arcane basement is a great NPC. Amy, I'm going to throw this one at you. Sure. Middle school teacher.
Ooh, see, that can go so many ways. Mm-hmm. It could be this person is nurturing, or it could be this person loves having authority, and that is what they live for, you know, or it could be this person, again, Flashdance streams could be like they, you know, because it's one of those, think about like what job they have and then what attitude. Are they happy having this job? Are they unhappy having this job? Are they not sure yet? Is it their first day on the job? Because first day of middle school teacher, that's a very different vibe from I have been doing this for literally 30 years and I do still like the kids, but I barely remember what it was like to be nervous about teaching algebra. You know,
day one, they can change the world. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh, I'm a new teacher and I'm gonna change teaching. Oh yeah, good.
And
good
maybe you will, kid. You know, like who knows? But in the meantime, the bathrooms are this way.
Yeah, but look, and if you want to go specific, if you're like, okay, well, who do I think of when I think of middle school teacher? I think of Mr. Meyer, who was my earth science teacher, and he was. I mean, now that I'm older, I'm like, oh, that was sad. But when you were a kid, you were like, oh, Mr. Meyer's our crazy Vietnam vet teacher. And he was wired, right? And just all over the map, and just this like very like crazy-eyed guy who was very intense about the environment. If you made a joke about spotted owl population numbers being low, he would actually throw a walking stick at you. He would like launch it at you like a javelin. He probably shouldn't have worked with children. I don't know, but like throw that on the captain of the guard. He's like this weird, intense environmentalist. Doesn't like loud noises. Doesn't like any of you. Doesn't like any rule breaking. Doesn't like goofing off, doesn't like your chicanery. That's all of a sudden this guy has a little more flavor. So I want to put this on its feet a little bit with the two of you, and we're gonna make these NPCs. We're gonna give them even more details because we're gonna combine our lists. Okay. So here we go. I'm gonna say the NPC. And then I'm going to give each of you something from the list, and you're going to just like give them a characteristic based on what you get from the list. Sound good? And then all of a sudden we'll have these incredible NPCs. Okay. The guard at Candlekeep, the guy guarding the gate at Candlekeep is our NPC. That we're going with. And I'm pretty sure that is a named character in Candlekeep Mysteries, but for now, maybe it's that guy's day off. And,
hey, pre-order Candlekeep Mysteries to find out the name of that guard, because
you really should.
You really want to.
A lot of cool stuff. Like you should really pre-order it on dndbeyond.com in the marketplace. It comes with some pretty sweet goodies. Okay.
The dice set looks so cool. Really,
it really looks good. The researchers said they really outdid themselves. That stuff floats around like liquid inside the dice. Okay, here we go. This guard outside of an arcane library, Amy, from the animals list that I have in front of me, snake.
Guard outside snake does not trust you. Absolutely does not trust you. Very suspicious of you, specifically.
Perfect. I love it. Super suspicious person. Okay, I'm randomizing jobs. Mellie, line cook at a diner.
Oh boy. They definitely they make you double check everything that you're giving them, because you enter Candlekeep with a book, right?
Yeah.
So they don't trust what you've given them because of that snake thing, and they're gonna double check it with other people because you're new here. You don't know how do we do things here.
Perfect. Very anal about the process. Really wants to get it right. Also super suspicious. Super suspicious of you. Perfect. I love that. Okay. Here we go. Let's see here. Mayor of the small town that you run into in an intro quest. Okay, let's do this. I'm randomizing the list. Mellie, we're going to start with you. I'm going to give you an actor, because I know that it's not your strong suit, but I think here's the point too about why I like using actors for this, is that your choice about an impression of an actor is always better to me than a good impression of the actor. Does that make sense? Like Will Ferrell's George W. Bush wasn't a good impression of George W. Bush, but his take and his like choice about that person is what made it so good. So
yeah, it's like a caricature of that person.
Yeah. So if you don't know, say like, okay, let's hit randomize. Okay, yeah. Chris Rock. You might
Chris
not.
Rock.
Yeah.
That I know nothing about. I can envision them telling you about stuff in a very forceful way, that they're telling you things that are opinions as they're facts.
Perfect.
Confidence,
Very opinionated, very intense about those opinions. This is a very weird mayor to encounter in this first level, sort of quest giving situation. So very opinionated, very forceful with those opinions. I am going, but you know what? For funsies, I'm going to just re-randomize the actor list again.
Mine two actors.
Amy, Michelle Pfeiffer.
Ooh. Oh, it's tough with someone that you like admire that much. So Michelle Pfeiffer is going to bring, okay, let's go with this. Style. So much style this mayor has. Just glamour mayor. Like And no matter their gender, this person is killing it head to toe with a look that they have thought about. They're making it look effortless, but it's not, you can tell. And that's just going to like accidentally just Hollywood poses everywhere they go.
I feel like we've just created Miranda Priestley from The Devil Wears Prada.
We may have. I think we did.
Yes.
But the cool thing is like now these don't just have to be flavor, right? Once you've made a decision like that, it's like, do they have an advantage on like maybe charisma rolls, or are you at a disadvantage if you're trying to like get a one up on them because clearly like just charismatically they own the room, you know? All of a sudden, just based on like these little choices, we have all of these cool like,
or hey, you've got this cool magical tiara that you got in this last adventure that maybe you used to deal with this mayor. You're like, oh, let's make a deal. I got this very stylish thing.
You can tell that's going to appeal to them, so that's going to change the way you try to interact.
Exactly. And look, I know that, you know, on the surface, like this seems kind of goofy and silly, right? And, you know, your need for goofy and silly in D&D might vary. But I just think that this is such a nice tool to just be like, okay, what's my first thought about something? Because without a prompt, sometimes that thought can be impossible to grasp. Like it's so much harder for me to be like, okay, what's one thing about this person? Most likely they're going to be Southern and they're going to be named Tim. That's my default. That is my default. They're just, you're going to, okay, what about this blacksmith? What about the, hey, I'm Tim, son of a bitch. I did it again. But like, if I have this list and it's like, okay, Kevin Hart and a hairstylist. Okay, the lady that used to cut our hair in college would ask you which kind of two haircuts you wanted, jock or nerd. So maybe this person has a very like black and white way of seeing the world. Like there are always two roads and you can pick one, and they're very small because Kevin Hart's small. That's funny. But at least I'm not like, okay, it's Southern Tim again. Although Southern Tim's a great NPC.
Southern Tim, Russian Dave, you know, those are go-to gold standards. What I like about this though is building these lists is like your list of actors, you get to make it yourself, everybody. You can put actors on it that you know. You will understand what it means.
You can put
when
mythological
you roll that
figures.
yourself.
Like this is Lancelot. What would Lancelot do in this scenario? You know, whatever works as a reference. But like, I do love that you brought up a hairdresser several times, because it's one of those, if you have a second to think through, you can really come up with cool, unexpected stuff. Because I don't know to what extent y'all might be familiar, but the comic book writer Gail Simone, who's one of the titans of comics, used to work as a hairstylist, and she tells amazing stories. She loved that work. She was good at that work. She loved what that work did for other people. So that would be in the category of likes their job, good at their job. But she also tells great stories about like the early days of becoming a comic book writer, where she would do things like be planning a Deadpool story on the phone with an editor while she was cutting someone's hair, which means she would be discussing these violent, bloody gags that they were planning for the comics while someone was getting their extremely nice bob.
Amazing.
And it's like, that's a thing that is in the world of hairdresser. Like when you were talking about what's the side gig or the flash dance side of it, like, who knows? That could be yours. Like they in other ways seem exactly like you expect, except.
Yeah, suddenly this jailer that you guys have encountered is also working on their novel. And as you're trying to deal with this jailer, every now and then he pauses and he's like, let me run this past you. What about this character? Or does this song lyric sound good? You know, like that, that's such fun.
And now I want to pull in our failure idea. Like the players failed, they're in jail. This jailer's talking about their novel idea. Their novel idea is inspired by the thing that's happening around town. Oh, they've dropped a clue because they're giving you this information. Boom, we've just now connected it.
Exactly. So yeah, so that's my trick. I go with a list of actors, animals, and professions. But you know, like Amy said, you know, it can be mythological figures, it can be figures from history, it can be colors. You know, blue is going to make me think different things than red. You know, what physical? How does the color red walk? You know.
What things like inspire you? What gets your kind of creative juices going, and then build your three
And once
lists.
you randomize that thing, first thought, first gut, go with it. Like, you don't have to get precious. You don't have to wait and be like, oh, but what about Jason Momoa? Y'all's first thought was it. Like, they own the room when they walk in. That's such a great place to start for that NPC. Yeah. Hey, thank you all for being a little goofy with me today and creating some characters. Like, this is the stuff that I really love with D&D. So I appreciate you two being here.
It's awesome. I love seeing how you do it because, I mean, I've enjoyed your NPCs and how you characterize them. So kind of getting an insight into how you do that, love.
Now you have to play Guess the Animal.
Yes.
Yep. Now my players are going to be just Mellie's going to be deconstructing at
exactly.
all times.
Which animal is this one?
Yeah, when I introduce someone. Sweet. Well, hey, if you're watching here at Twitch, thank you guys so much for hanging out live with us. If you are watching in the future on YouTube, let us know in the comments. What's your favorite NPC you've ever created? And you know what? I might steal them away for my games. Thank you guys so much for hanging out, for watching. Again, Candlekeep Mysteries, available for pre-order on the D&D Beyond marketplace right now. Comes with a whole lot of really cool goodies, including the Researcher's Dice set. So definitely get that in before the book releases on 3/16. Get those pre-order goodies in your body. We'll see you guys next time over here at D&D Beyond. Thanks so much.